Welcome to Name That Sound, where I play a sound and you gotta name what it is. Here's the first one. Did you guess it right? It's a police car. Alright, our next one is going to be a little extra hard. Let's see if you can get this sound. Now, just in case you didn't catch it, let's play it one more time. If you said a bowling ball hitting down one pin, you are correct. Good job. Now for the bonus round, the extra super duper mighty hard listening problem. Is that one too tough? Well, let's play it one more time. And the answer is a bear riding a bike in the rain. Ha ha ha. Today we're going to learn about a blind man that Jesus meets. Can you imagine being blind and not being able to see anything? You'd have to really rely on our hearing a whole lot more. I can't wait to find out what happens. So let's get going with Junior Church.
Welcome back, boys and girls, for another episode of Junior Church with the Shevies. We are glad that you are here today.
I am glad you're here today. I am glad you're here today with me in our church. There's Graham and Ross and I am glad you're here today with me in our church.
Well, it's hard to believe that we have been doing this now for 12 weeks. I think some of you are done with school now. You're on summer vacation. We've gotten to see some of you have graduated from kindergarten. Lots of things going on here lately.
Yes, and let's sing another song.
Okay.
Oh, be careful.
Ooh.
And today we're talking about a blind man. And so let's sing, oh, be careful, little eyes, what you see here.
That's
so,
good.
all right.
Yep.
Oh, be careful, little eyes, what you see. Oh, be careful, little eyes, what you see. For the Father up above is looking down in love. Oh, be careful, little eyes, what you see.
You know, sometimes when we're on summer break, we spend a little bit more time watching maybe TV, or maybe we're spending more time on our iPad or reading some books for fun. We need to be really careful about those things that we're looking at and taking into our minds through our eyes.
Yes. Well, let's say our verse and our song for
All right. Yes, we have
this
been
month.
working on Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ, which strengthens me. Yes. Should we do it again?
Sure.
All right. Philippians
4:13.
4:13. I can do all things through Christ, which strengtheneth me.
I can do all things through Christ which strengthens me. I can do all things through Christ which strengthens me. I can do all things through Christ which strengthens me. Let's take a look at your awesome coloring pictures from last week. All right, we have, let's see, last week, delightful drawings, I think?
Yep, and this week we have elegant etchings. Now it's a little bit of a stretch. A little bit of a stretch. I received that as a suggestion about the etching, and I like that.
Yes, reminds me of Etch-a-Sketches.
Well. It does, yes.
All right. Well, let's get going. Remember, last week we talked about Jesus calming the seas, and I like our first two pictures here today. We have Marcy and Bobby, and I like Marcy because she put in
exactly what Jesus said.
Peace be still. Yes, that was very good.
I like the symbols that Bobby put in his sky.
Mm-hmm.
And
I think that's the
Star of David?
the mast. The mast, has different shapes. Yep. Yep. And Bobby continues a little lighter of a haircut on that one. Okay, moving on. And talking about haircuts.
Yeah, we've got kind of a flat top buzz cut here for Jesus from the Michigan clan here.
Yes.
Ansel, Odin, Fritz, and Ingrid, Klaus, and Adelaide.
Mm-hmm. And very nice job. Odin predicted that it was daylight right away. I think this was after it was Peace Be Still. Yep. Adelaide, it almost looks like it's still
kind of dark and stormy.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Klaus, he's starting to get that blue sky in there. Ingrid, wow, I like the color she used on Jesus.
They all did really well, and I'm really getting impressed with Fritz is getting a lot more detailed in here and getting inside the lines. Good job, Fritz. All right, we have Quentin and Lola from Minnesota.
Yeah, some beautiful details here. I love how Quentin has that bright yellow sail.
Yeah, and do you spot maybe a little sparkle or something in that?
Maybe.
Some sparkle crayon or something.
I like the green boat. I like Lola's kind of honey mustard color wood for her boat.
Mm-hmm. All right, we have Adley and Jaden from Janesville.
Yes, I like Adley added a little smiley face there, and her son. It must have been after Jesus said, "Peace be still." There, it was starting to.
And Jaden is very stormy.
It was, yes,
very stormy. So, like it, very good. And here we have Josiah. I believe that would be Katya, Curtis, and Philip. And and I'm gathering more symbols on the mast. Or
the sail, you mean the sail.
Sail,
yes.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yep, I like that. Two of them had those crosses like that, and I like the detail in the wood. The alternating colors of wood.
Yeah,
yes, and Katya's too. She's got a couple different kinds of wood used in her boat.
Yes, I don't know what that is right back there.
I don't know, but
there's something back there.
It's very lovely.
All right. Oh, I don't even need to look at who did this. I can tell right away by those skylines.
I know. Sunsets that, yes. Eliana and Abigail from New York. Yes, beautiful. I like that. Eliana, she threw in some planets there and stars in the sky.
It looks very
cool. Mm-hmm. And yeah, Abigail, just that beautiful rainbow effect in the sky. Lovely.
All right. Now we have Abby and Ellie from Janesville here.
Abby, very colorful job there. Almost a rainbow effect going on. Love those pops of pink.
She's getting to be pretty good within the lines too right here. I like that.
Ellie has that lovely alternating wood style on her boat.
And it looks like Jesus is maybe glowing a little bit.
Yeah, radiating light. Love it.
Colin, Carter, and Hannah
from Janesville
as well. I like Colin's belt color. He definitely accentuated that. And I'm always wondering what he's writing on because there's often those dots right there. It's very curious.
Carter's is looking very hot to me. Like almost like they were in a sea of lava.
Ooh, lava. The floor is lava!
I know, yep. And Hannah's lots of nice use of blue there since they're in the water. That's a perfect color to use.
All right. And I think that concludes this week. Let's see, A, B, C, D, E, F.
F for next week. And we take pictures from 0 to 99. So if you want to submit those pictures, we'll take them.
Ages 0 to 99.
Yes, 0 to 99, yes. What are you making over there, Graham?
I'm making a river.
A river? Well, playing with this Play-Doh made me think of a Bible story here. Do you know what these are?
Those are shapers that we can make out of Play-Doh.
Yeah, exactly. They're like a cookie cutter or a mold. What happens if I put this heart into my Play-Doh? What's the Play-Doh going to do?
It's going to shape into a heart.
Very good. It turned into the shape of a heart.
So can I try?
Sure. Can I make more shapes with my Play-Doh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Can I fit this shape back into this mold?
Yes.
You're right. The heart will fit perfectly back into this mold. What about, will this be able to stay a heart and turn into the gingerbread boy?
No.
No. What's going to happen to my heart?
It would be broken.
It will be broken. You're right. Let's see. If we put this little gingerbread boy in here. Oh!
Went through.
What happened to his belly? Now I have a hole in my heart and I have another shape. Well, you know what? There was a group of religious leaders in the Bible. You know what their names were?
What?
They were called the Pharisees. And the Pharisees told everyone that they loved God with all of their heart and everything that they wanted to do. They wanted to please God, but actually, they wanted Jesus and God, their whole concept of who God was, to fit into a mold. They wanted him to act a certain way, to do certain things. And when Jesus didn't do those things, they got angry. And they would say that he wasn't really the Messiah.
So when you said that, I was wondering, what was mold?
Mold means to shape something in a certain way. So like this would be a heart mold. If I'm going to take this mold, I'm going to turn these things into a heart. That's what it means to mold, to turn it into a certain shape. And they thought that Jesus needed to act like this and like this and like this. And when Jesus didn't act just like that, it made him angry. And our story today that I'm going to tell you is all about a time when Jesus didn't do what the Pharisees thought he should do. You know why?
Why?
Because Jesus healed somebody on the Sabbath. Do you know what the Sabbath was?
No.
The Sabbath was their, kind of like their Sunday. It was their day of rest. If it's a day of rest, what do you think everybody should be doing?
Sleeping?
Resting. And if Jesus healed somebody, was he resting?
No.
No. So why don't we listen to this story here about the Pharisees and see what happens when Jesus heals a blind man on the Sabbath?
Jesus and the disciples passed by a blind man who was begging for money. The disciples asked Jesus, "Who sinned? Was it the man or was it his parents?" The disciples thought that bad things happen to people because of the sins that they committed. Sometimes we do things that make bad things happen. Maybe we push our brother or sister and they get hurt. Or maybe we tell a lie. Well, all of those things have consequences. When bad things happen for no apparent reason, we have to remember that we live in a world that is fallen and broken. Jesus explained to the disciples that the man wasn't blind because of sins that he had done or that his parents had done, but the man was blind so that God could glorify himself. That was the reason why God allowed this man to be blind since birth. To help heal the man, Jesus spit on the ground and he mixed it with dirt and made some mud. Then he put that mud on the man's eyes and he told him to go wash in the pool of Siloam. The man obeyed right away and he went and washed, and he came back seeing. God was glorified. But then the people started questioning what had happened. "Surely this isn't the same man," they said. "This has to be somebody else." They couldn't believe that such a miracle could happen. They would not listen to the man's story. The people then took the man to the Pharisees. It didn't help Jesus that he had healed the man on the Sabbath day, which was the day of rest. The Pharisees asked the man what had happened, and he told his story again. The Pharisees said, "No man of God would ever heal on the Sabbath day." Jesus wasn't fitting into their mold. The Pharisees called the parents of the blind man to see if this man was really telling the truth and if he had been blind since birth. The parents said that their son was old enough to speak for himself. So again, the man was brought before the Pharisees, and he told his story again. "One thing I know," the man said. "I once was blind, but now I see." After more arguing, the Pharisees angrily cast him out of the synagogue. Then Jesus found him. Jesus asked the man, "Do you believe in the Son of Man?" And the man who was once blind replied that he did believe, and he worshiped Jesus.
Well, those Pharisees, they just didn't believe that Jesus healed the blind man, did they? And, is there ever a time when we try to fit Jesus into our own mold? Jesus didn't fit into the shape that the Pharisees wanted him to fill. Can you think of any times when maybe you want Jesus to do a certain thing for you? Do you ever pray a prayer request and you want Jesus to answer that prayer request in a certain way?
One time I did, but then was afraid that I didn't want it anymore.
Well, when we ask Jesus to answer a prayer request and we expect him to do it a certain way, that's like trying to make Jesus fit into a mold. And the Bible tells us that Jesus wants to do exceeding abundantly above all that we could ask or think. You know what that means?
What?
Jesus wants to give us and do more things for us in our lives than we can even imagine. We get a plan or a thought in our mind and we think, Jesus, this is exactly how I want you to do it. But you know what? God really has a better plan for our lives. And so we need to make sure and check that we aren't trying to put Jesus into our mold, but that we're letting Jesus mold our lives to be more like him.
Thank you, Mrs. Shevy, again for another story and for helping her out, Chef Boy.
You're so welcome.
Let's sing a sunbeam
Ooh, that's a good
for him.
A
sunbeam, a sunbeam. Jesus wants me for a sunbeam. A sunbeam, a sunbeam. I'll be a sunbeam for him. When I sing that song, I think we should be doing what God wants and not what we want.
That is right. Yep.
Well, let's sing one more too, and this little light of mine.
Ooh.
And trying out to be another light source around us, right? And we need to be showing that God's love is in us. So we should be lighting the world. All right, let's sing. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine all the time. All right, so let's go to some questions of the week.
What was wrong with the man in our story? He was blind.
There was a group of religious leaders in our story that was always trying to fill Jesus into their own mold. Can you remember what those religious leaders were called? They were the Pharisees.
How did Jesus heal the blind man? He spit into dirt and made it into mud and smeared it all over the eyes.
All right, well, that's it for this episode, boys and girls. Thanks again for tuning in. We hope to see you all back here next week.
Bye.